here talking about things like Diddy, talking about things like my son, this kid. He is going through it right now. He's actually has strep throat. And strep throat is this infection that messes with your lymph nodes in your neck, squeezing them so tight you can barely swallow. It takes about 3 days for it to hit you, as far as like you have it and don't even really know you have it for the first 3 days. And then I'm looking for, I found it. This looks a little, bear with me. Much better. Forget about it. Look at this crazy hair. I got my hair blow dried yesterday. I got the haircut and I was like, you know what? Blow dry it for me. Forget about it. So I'm gonna be like this all day over here. Who has hair like this? I don't know. I do kind of my own thing, and I don't conform to any norms. Well, the guy did a good job, even though he zeked me 2 times here in the back. There's like these two marks in the back where I think he just had the wrong clippers in his hand. He forgot which clippers he had in his hand because he trimmed he did a little line right here. And when he went to the back, he zeked me. And then 10 minutes later, he zeked me again. But I didn't say anything, it's okay. They kind of look like little scars there, but they're not scars. They're totally, what's that called? Oh man, it's telling me my tire pressure is low. That's what I love about this car. It says I have 26% in this back rear tire. And I don't have time to stop it and air it up or anything like that. Go ahead, sir, you can go. Sorry. Thank you. So, this is the part of Brooklyn where we're all trying to make our way either to the Brooklyn Bridge or north towards Queens. And these people that are driving on this road, they're coming all the way from Staten Island, some of them. The Belt Parkway turns into the Cross Bronx Express, the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, so there's massive amounts of cars. From what I've noticed is that the congestion pricing that's done in Manhattan has now made it worse for the Brooklyn Queens people, because now a person, instead of spending the $9 to go through Manhattan to get to Jersey, or to go through Manhattan to get to the Bronx, they just take in the Triborough Bridge and spending that $9 there one time instead of spending it to go into the city. So, I haven't noticed the congestion benefits, honestly. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm not in the city, hardcore driving in the city as much. My target audience is, up in Mamaroneck, up in Westchester, in the northern part of the Bronx, and of course Red Hook, Brooklyn. So, what are you gonna do? There was a time when I had like 40% of my clients were in Jersey. But now, Jersey seems to they make it available. So it's so easy now, so no one needs me anymore. I have one or two holdouts that's really, showing me love, and they tell me stuff like, I'll never walk into one of those places ever ever. I will never stop calling you. You're my guy. And I'm like, it feels great. It feels great when somebody's like, passionate about your service that you provide. So, but I was thinking about son with the strep throat, and he's like crying and he's screaming. And the pain is just so intense, he's getting this back pain, back spasms. And he's screaming out in pain, so much so that I just want to run in the room and just like rub his back and just tell him, it's gonna be okay, son. It's nothing. Like I've done in the past when he's sick. I've always been super, like I would feel his pain and we can go through it together. That's the way the father I've been. And I've been telling myself I wanna stop telling my children I love them every day, so many times a day, and I want to be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word callous, but I want to use the word more, I want to be a little more stoic. I want to be a lot more stoic with my family. My family to, like I did all that. I did all the hugs and the kissing, the boo-boos and all that kind of stuff. I did all of that nurturing for my family, and from what I see, it really doesn't, my investment, I'm not getting the return on my investment that I would have liked. Honestly, I would have liked a much better return than I've gotten, especially in the last like 2, 3, 4 months. And that's from both of my children. So I think, being taken for granted is a serious thing. I have very little rules in my house. And one of the rules that I have in my house is that you have to write in your journals every day. And I get so much pushback. And you have to run 2 miles 5 times a week, which I keep telling them that's not a punishment. I want them to have the runner's mind, the mind where you can solve problems when you're able to separate your mind and body and soul to get to the next mile, so to speak. So last year's when I started the running with the kids, I told I'm the only fat person allowed in the home. You just see my wife. She's like, she's in the gym heavy, because when this last 7 months I've gained a bunch of weight, and so has she. And a lot of that I know was, I went to the Gap with my daughter, and there's a video coming out about that, where I did some filming of my daughter at the Gap, because it was her first time ever shopping at the Gap. We shop at the thrift shops. I take my kids to thrift shops, and they rocking, the top labels, the top brands, the Abercrombie's and the Polos, and the Versace and all, super duper style, super stylish. Always been able to put things together, but now as they've grown up, all they want to do is be like, all that fight and all that hard work that I put to have them and let them know that they're individuals, all the stuff that I show them, like how you don't need to be wearing any of these brands. You can actually brand yourself, and showing them the different factories and the places you can go. And I show them in Red Hook where there's a place you can go to get all the best stickers, the same stickers that Columbia puts on their windbreakers, and the same stickers that Nike puts on their Nike Tech bags and all this stuff, without being zoned in. There's so many different things that are available to you that you can make people want to wear your sneakers, wear your bags, wear your jackets. Mind you, the reason why I say this to my kids is because my daughter just turned 6 foot tall this week. My son has been 6 foot for the last couple of months, but if you ask my son, he thinks that he's like 5'4", 5'9". between five, let's say five, between 5'5" and 5'9". That's where my son sees himself. He doesn't see the 6'1" 14-year-old. I mean, the 6'4" 14-year-old that's super good looking and in amazing shape. You know, my son has a six-pack. He's, you know, but yet he looks at others and admires others and wishes he looked like them, and even wants to dress like everyone else. He wants to be the typical teenager that's wearing all black. Now they all want to wear this Essentials hoodie and Essentials pants. They're like Pumas and Asics and the Theodora sneakers together. I have tons of pictures of just how stupid my children are, and it's all backfire. It's like be like everyone else. They don't believe that they can ever be a brand or wear a brand or mind you, like my daughter is 6 foot tall. Your mother was 6'4". You're super athletic. Your father has you riding bikes in the streets of New York City, going damn near from borough to borough from the age of like 8. We've traveled across the country a couple of times, twice. We've seen 2 eclipses, 2 full solar eclipse where we're in full totalitarian for over a minute. I videoed their whole lives, and I keep telling them that you cannot damage your digital footprint. You're not allowed social media, and they like hate me for it. And then we're always constantly catching them with social media. My daughter yesterday has some sort of account, and what do we see? She was hanging with her grandfather, and she took a picture, sent it to her TikTok or Instagram, I can't remember, and it was her taking a picture of herself through the visor of the car with her middle finger up. You're 12 years old with your middle finger up. Please do not destroy your digital footprint. You're 6 foot tall. You're 12 years old. You're super athletic. My daughter, you should see her running stride. You'll never think that she was 6 foot tall, 12 years old. You would think this was a woman who ran all her life. She has the most amazing, brilliant stride. You know, and that's just one of the rules. You have to run these miles 5 days a week. And then I write everything down. I write down the time they did the run, the temperature that it is, the temperature, how it feels. I also write down each lap, how long it took them to run each lap. And then I write everything down. I time each one of them, put their times down. I add it all up. I categorize it, and I'm showing them. I know when you're sneaking around the block and cutting through the alley. I can see it by this number and this number, and it's like, it's not a punishment. You're not getting over on me. What you're doing is you're not living to your full potential, is what I'm telling them. Could the argument be made that damn near 400-pound man is not living to his potential? Absolutely. And the other argument would be made, kids respond to what they see, not with what you say, but I've shown them success, what it looks like. You know, I'm the guy who was in debt for $180,000, and I got him out of that, and I made it all the way down to zero. All the way down to zero. So, my thing is, I want to break away from the hugs and the kisses, and when my son was in the room crying about his back, and he was in so much pain he damn near passed out from his strep throat. That I would be lying, if I would be remiss if I didn't say that there was a part of me that like it really hurt not to go and you know, be there for him and let him know, yo, you got this. Because there's this thing that I used to do when they were like kids, is that there's these, you know, I talk about the red blood cells and the white blood cells and the way they respond when things are in danger. And they're like these little samurais, and I show them, look, they're like samurai swords, and they in there, they're fighting. My kids would get sick, and they'd be like, Daddy, my samurai cells are fighting so I don't stay sick. And I'd be like, yes. But there's a part of me that, like, I want to go in the room and I want to have the whole samurai, you know, red blood cells, white blood cells conversation with them, so they can know they're going to get better and tomorrow's going to be a better day, and you know that you're young and you're strong and you're going to beat this strep throat. Other people take 7, probably be done 5. You know, I want to tell them all these things. The return on my investment said nothing. Well, I did say something. Hold on. I hope oh no, it doesn't come with a sneeze or a cough, so I don't know what that was. Maybe some of the pollen in the air. So there was not that I didn't say anything, I just wasn't my normal self. You know, I was just like, yo, you're gonna be alright, you know. And he was like, I need to go outside, I gotta get out of here, I gotta get out of here. And Mom was like, boy, get back in that bed. And I was like, no, let him go. He went outside. He was outside for less than a minute. I came right back upstairs and just passed out in the bed. So, you know, I knew he was looking and screaming for some attention. But I just didn't give in. I didn't get into my natural nurturing self. I stood a little bit. I stood on the bench. let's use a reference, a basketball reference. Yeah, I stood on the bench. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna take a little light break from this guy. You know, like I'm just saddened. I'm saddened by my kids and the results that we're getting. And I know the argument can be made, hey, you can have a kid that's telling you they're transitioning. You think you got it rough, huh? You know, and then most people would say something like, you know, a guy who does what you do for a living, you're driving around, meeting clients. You know, I've been in the cannabis world a decade. You know, that's going to rub off on the kids to some degree, you know? What can you do? It makes sense to me. You know, not that my 12-year-old I'm having any problems with, but, you know, it's sad when, you know, your children think that they can't talk to you about what's going on in their life, and the power that